Time to do what every young boy dreams of. Some titties. All right, push workout. Let's go get it.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past and the pettiness. A reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're with my...
Hey guys, Coach Dan here. We are the back end of the week, the back half of week 3 of this fat loss phase. There are some challenges that are starting to kick up. So within a fat loss phase, you get issues like hunger, but not just hunger. Like hunger is usually not too bad in my eyes, but just generally feeling tired and lethargic. That's kind of starting to kick in. So kind of got to learn to deal with that, kind of got to use that, well, sorry, not use that, but take that with you into sessions and then still try hard. That becomes quite challenging. And yeah, the lack of motivation and all these kinds of things, it's a tough one. But again, we've got to stay on top. We've got habits that we just kind of roll into. We've got programs, all that kind of stuff. You just follow the plan. You don't have to think too hard. You don't have to worry about your feelings too much. You just got to follow the plan, essentially. So the specifics of the workout run like this. This is a push workout, the second push workout of the week. We start off with the incline cambered bar bench press for that large stretch through the chest. I might change the angle on that because that's so far in my 2 times doing it, in the last couple of weeks hasn't felt great. So I might make the incline a little bit not as incline, a little bit more decline. Then we've got a chest press, a horizontal chest press machine. Nice deep stretch on that one. I use the fat grips because they feel comfy to hold on to. And then incline, what am I calling this? Incline lying cable machine fly. So rolling a bench over to the big cable crossover and smashing some flies for the upper chest. Then I've got my face in lateral raise variation, which is quite a unique way to use a lateral raise. So that is a good one. Classic Smith machine shoulder press, still trying to get stronger at that, build my numbers up on that, which is tough, but we go on. And then finishing off with some tricep pushdowns with the straight bar and using the gym pin to kind of increase our weight because I'm lifting good weight on that, which is pretty cool to see. So yeah, we got to go into this workout, and even though you're feeling a bit of lethargy, feeling a bit lethargic, you still got to push on. And again, we've got habits, we've got protein. Maybe I'm struggling more than I think. We've got a program to follow, so we get in there, we get started, and once you get started, also usually things start to feel a little bit better. So no chilling out too much. You still got to push. You still got to try hard and do all the things that you do when you're trying to gain muscle, because otherwise there's potential, or a higher potential, to lose muscle. All right, enough whinging and moaning. Let's head to the cambered bar bench press. First up, we have the cambered bar bench press. So the cambered bar bench press is this bar with this little dent in it. And what the dent, we're doing it on the incline cambered bar bench press. What this incline does is create a larger range of motion. So you'll see I'll place my hands here, and then this will go essentially past the level of my chest, creating a larger stretch and, hopefully more muscle growth. Now, so far doing this one on the incline, I haven't yet found it to be hasn't felt very good yet. So I've been trying a couple of things. I've changed my incline to a slightly lower incline, and we'll try that today. But potentially it's not great on the incline. So I've done this on the flat. It was sensational, but on the incline so far I haven't loved it. But we'll try a reduced angle and see if that feels a little bit better. So all your cues for bench pressing are the same. Essentially, grab a hand. Your handles is kind of limited by this camber or this dent in the bar, so you have to be outside that, obviously. Take it over the top of the chest, down, deep stretch, drive up from there. So control that down phase, maybe a gentle pause or at least just a stopping of the momentum before we press up. And that's that. So this deep stretch hopefully is really good for muscle growth. A bit of, some recent evidence suggests that range of motion is important, and also potentially even more important is training muscles at long muscle lengths. And this kind of does that pretty much the best. So for all chest movement, that's not true. It's just a good version of it. So, all right, let's build it on up and let's crush it. Okay, next up we have the horizontal chest press. I think this is a Cal Gym brand. This is a nice one. Has a good feel to it. I put these fat grips on there, again, for no other reason than it just gives a nice feel. Now, just a quick summary on that Incline Cambered bar bench press. So I'd taken it an angle down, and I think that was a wise move. That felt much more effective than last week. Last week, I don't know, didn't really feel it as feeling very effective at all. My perception of what felt effective, I don't know, maybe that was a range of motion that was too large. I am a big fan of range of motion, but that didn't feel very effective for my chest last week, but this week it was good. So took it down a notch, probably went from about 45 degrees to 30 degrees. Yeah, pretty good. Now we go into this horizontal chest press. Now this is a chest press that gives you a really large stretch. It's horizontal, but it does arc slightly up. And again, that suits my preference as far as what I'm trying to work on, more of my upper pec and not as much of my lower pec. And so this suits me. It's got this foot pedal here, which allows for, again, to kind of kick you out, get into a good position, lower it back, and then drive out using your chest. You can see that slight arc up. Again, potentially emphasizing the upper chest, and so far it's felt very effective. I've been getting better at it, so that's cool. So we will continue to do that. A quick note, I felt a bit of lack of motivation before training today, but once you get started, I think that's a thing, is that you do start to feel better. So the whole thing that I mention to clients is it's usually a chicken or the egg kind of scenario where we often want to wait for motivation to get started, but often it's the getting started that gets us motivated. So now that I've started, I feel like I'm quite enjoying it and stuff like that. But prior to, I was like, I don't really feel like this. So chicken or the egg, motivation comes first, or well, people want motivation to come first before they get started, but often getting started leads to motivation, which ends up being this loop. So sometimes that's the biggest challenge, just getting started. All right, let's chest press. That's good. All right, incline lying machine fly, I think I'm calling this one. So we've gone from our incline bench press at the beginning, and then we've gone that chest press, and now we're going to do a fly variation again on the incline, because that's where my emphasis is at the moment for my chest training. So I'm doing this on the incline. Now the question on everyone's lips, and by everyone I don't mean just me, is what angle to do the bench. So what I'd been doing is a particular angle on the bench press, in cambered bar at the beginning, and then making this slightly lower. But because I made that slightly lower, will I make this higher? I'll try it at a higher incline, see if that feels better. But the idea is here, we incline it to the height that you want to focus on. So if you think about when you're doing chest work on the incline, depending on the resistance, so like if it's gravity as an example, like a free weight, as I incline my body, if gravity's still coming down this way, let's say we're lying down, just as an example, we incline this way, but gravity keeps coming down this way, it means what's having to work is getting higher and higher on the chest, because gravity keeps coming down, but you're moving your body up like that. So it'll essentially change what we're trying to work. So the more we incline, the idea is that it's working more towards the upper part of the chest. If you were to continue to incline all the way upright, then it will be your shoulder, right? Because you're in like a shoulder press kind of position. So with all that said, the idea of changing inclines is kind of emphasizing different areas potentially. There is potential that it also is a non-factor, and if you do everything on the flat, everything gets good work, but I'm inclined to do incline work. All right, anyway, it takes a bit of setting up. I've got the bench in place already, but I'll have to go get this handle, and then lie down with it in this position, and then we fly. So, yeah, I mean, that feels okay at that incline, but I might have to do it at a decent intensity level before I know if it'll be okay. But I will try that steeper incline and see if that's decent or if it's shit ass. All right, well, weight-wise it might change as well here, but let's build it up and have a go. Good. Okay, next up we move on to the shoulders. So push workout for me is chest, shoulders and triceps together, not just a chest workout. So I suppose that's why you'd categorize it as push. So we move on to our shoulder exercise, specifically our lateral delt. So this is a, what do you call this machine? A lateral raise machine. And I'm doing it in a way such that, well, it's not supposed to be done this way, but it's felt good to me since doing it this way. So essentially you're face in. This is a, I don't know what brand, maybe this is Nautilus or something like that, an older school machine. You're face in, which traditionally this is a backrest to face out, but anytime I've done that with lateral raise machines, it hasn't felt, well, actually other than one other one here, but ultimately most of them don't feel great for my shoulder, particularly my right shoulder, which has had some issues from my sporting days. So I do it this way, face in, arms essentially going to be on the inside of these pads instead of like if you're facing out it might be like that. You can kind of move it to where it feels good for you, but essentially your forearm is kind of hitting that pad there, and then we're raising out to the side. Control the way down, gentle touch at the bottom, drive up aggressive. So again, if we think about the lateral delt, attaching to the deltoid tuberosity and then into the outside of your shoulder, it's kind of making my arm raise in these kinds of positions out to the side like such. If we think about front delt would be directly out in front and starting to come in towards the face. So as we start to get out to these angles, lateral delt is kind of working really well. This kind of 45 or scapular path or plane is quite good. Out to the side, some people like, but again, I find that directly out to the side, starts to kind of jam your shoulder into itself. You sort of start shrugging a lot. So usually I'll kind of angle most of my lateral raises kind of in that 45-degree angle. All right, let's go. We're going to get in for a bit of a slog here, 5 sets. This is an emphasis for me, so 5 sets here, 2 sets of a shoulder press, triceps, and then we out. Let's go. Alright, Smith machine shoulder press as our next shoulder exercise. So you think about a lateral delt where the arm goes out to the side. The couple of main differences here that makes this more anterior delt dominant versus lateral delt dominant is obviously instead of it going out to the side, like, or even in, you know, this kind of direction here where it's kind of passing your arm, will keep going like this. Now we set it up such that your arm comes to your head. Plus, your hand also turns over like this, which kind of orientates such that the anterior delt sits on top and then is in a good position to help with this exercise. So when we're lateral raising, it's kind of palms down. Then when we go to press most of the time, we flip like that. So you can see that straight away. My shoulder kind of turns like that. And then if we were just standing here, yeah, this kind of looks like, oh yeah, that's lateral delt as well. But because we're getting into that position, like I said, we're putting the anterior fibers on top to best help with the movement. The other thing about the Smith machine shoulder press is you want to be, you know, get the bench angle right and get your hand position right, because once you begin, bar goes up and down a straight line. That's not something that will change because it's on these rails. So I know that on this machine, I'm at this level of bench. I set my hands up. Pretty narrow grip is usually pretty good for me. So just on the outside of this smooth here, twist the handles forward, control the way down, tap the top of the chest essentially. And again, as I do a shoulder press or a Smith machine shoulder press, I'm thinking about pulling my arm in towards my head to do the movement, because that's what the anterior delt's going to do. I'm not just pushing up, I'm kind of thinking about pulling my arm in towards my head. So that is the dominant work, or at least I get best, you know, mind to muscle connection with that one. All right, let's build it right up and let's smash them out. Yes. Okay, finishing off with the classic straight bar tricep push down. So the straight bar being this dingle here, there's a whole bunch of attachments that go on here, the V, the rope, all these kinds of things. I'm going the straight bar. I started doing this a little while back because my elbow was feeling a little bit funky and it just felt really effective, so I've carried on with it. Now, the potential downside to this one is that the thing about the tricep, or tricep being a three-headed muscle, one of the heads of the muscle actually passes your shoulder and heads into the scapula. Now, as we talk about training muscles in lengthened positions, essentially this is stretching the tricep out, but the long head of the tricep is probably not getting, fully stretched out till we start to raise our arm up because it's coming and attaching on the scapula. with that said, this felt effective for me last week. It probably doesn't mean that it's, you know, shit, because it doesn't stretch out the long head, and it's a variation for me to work through and get stronger at. Some of the common faults I see with this one is kind of people leaning too far and then dragging this in, or sort of throwing their body into it like this and stuff like that, creating momentum. We want to isolate, so when we go to isolate, we keep everything else still, straighten the elbow, bend the elbow as far as it goes so we can stretch the tricep out as far as we can, and then straighten the elbow. And that's that. All right, get in for the long haul here. We're going 5 sets, about 8 to 15 reps per set. The cool thing that I do on this one, or it's cool for me and my ego, is that I add a gym pin, which I'll show you in a sec, where we can add weight to the stack. So I can do the full stack, plus add the gym pin, plus add a 10 kg plate. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's give that a whirl now. All right, that is a wrap on the workout, guys. So a good one. I think, yeah, what today has reiterated to me, and the message that I want to get across to people, is that you don't always feel like doing workouts. So in that scenario, what we rely on is that kind of deep reason why you're doing it. So for example, if I'm in a fat loss phase now, and I know the reason I'm in a fat loss phase is to get a little bit leaner because, you know, I want to show off the muscle that I've built over the course of, you know, the last 6 to 8 months, then I've got that deep reason why. It's really, you know, it's something, I mean, like, if I'm leaner or not lean, I'm not going to die either way, but it's something important to me. This is part of something that I love in general, which is weight training and, you know, transformation and stuff like that. So I have to have that strong reason why. I've got a plan in place, and surrounding that plan, I've developed good habits. So I think the hard thing is, like, if we've got a strong why, and it comes time to change a plan, like in a couple of weeks, or even, you know, within the next week, if I have to reduce how many calories that I'm eating, or increase how many steps I'm doing, or change something, but I don't have this strong reason why, then it's going to be really hard to do, and I might just give up instead. That's number one. After we kind of, you know, go through that stage, all right, I've got to chop off 300 calories, I've got to add 2,000 steps or something like that. Then I want to develop a habit surrounding that behavior. So it's going to get me there automatically. That's the beauty of habits. If we have good habits in place that are taking us where we want, they almost become thoughtless, like you don't have to think about them, and they're certainly less effortful. So they just become a part of what you do normally and naturally without even having to think about it, and that's super valuable. So yeah, I came into today's session with not a lot of motivation. I feel like my motivation's dipping a little bit, hungry a little bit, all these kinds of things. But once you get started, it starts to feel good as well. So you know that as well. It's like, okay, I've got my why in place, I've got my plan in place, I'm sticking to my routines, I don't feel like doing it, but once I get started, it will feed the beast. We don't wait for motivation to come, we get started, and motivation is coming from that essentially. So it's like a chicken or the egg kind of scenario, as I mentioned in the intro. If you are, you know, waiting for motivation to be there, you're going to be waiting a while, or you're going to be relying on something that's not very consistent, because we're never very motivated. Often motivation kind of runs like this. So like you might be doing well when motivation's up here, but it's like this. And that sort of follows the path of how consistency affects people. They're like this. On average, people aren't very consistent over time. They're up, down, up, down, up, down. So yeah, we want to make sure we're not reliant on this motivation thing. We get this behavior started, the motivation comes, and then we develop those habits. Anyway, that's a big spiel. As always, thanks for watching, guys. If you are liking the content, hit the little subscribe man up here. If you want to watch another video or another muscle group, how I'm training that, click the button up here. And as always, it's about progress over perfection. Coach Dan, signing off.